Welcome back to Let's Play Cave Story. So now that we've rescued Curly Brace and fulfilled all the other requirements, we can enter the first hidden area. This is the last cave, and depending on whether or not you save Curly Brace or get the Booster 2.0, and a couple of other things, you'll either get this cave, which is hidden, or the regular final cave, which is actually, as you might expect, a lot fucking easier. But since we're going for the good ending, we have to go through a couple of trials and tribulations. You may have noticed that before we entered, all of our weapons went down to level 1. This is one of the reasons why having the spur is such an advantage in this point in the game, because it cannot go down to level 1. And we can use these experience capsules to level up our other weapons. I'm going to focus mainly on the missiles. So the reason the final cave is so tough is pretty much because of the intense platforming elements that you have to go through. Like, you can't touch those spikes, obviously. Those will give you 10 damage. Touching that, fruit punch below you, which is presumably lava, also deals 10 damage. The bats and power critters aren't really that much of a concern, but you can only get hit about, 3 or 4 times over the course of the entire final cave, which is actually quite long, by these spikes or that lava, or you'll end up dead. Not to mention, when you finish, you actually fight a boss at the very end, so you've got to keep your health at least high enough to survive through that. There's a little bit of health that's kind of scattered about throughout here, but not a whole lot, so you've got to be relatively cautious. In fact, if you get down to half health or below before you reach that boss, maybe a slight exaggeration, but if you're low on health before you reach that boss, it's probably not worth your time to even try. You should just restart. Not that the boss is particularly difficult, but as with most bosses in this game, beating him without getting hit is highly unlikely. So, we'll just break open that experience and get our missiles up to level 2. The missiles are almost, I don't want to say worthless, but almost every other item is worthless now that we have the spur, just because it's so overpowered. So, now we've entered the part of the hidden cave where there is some extraordinarily difficult platforming puzzles, and in particular, this part is not so bad, but this very next part that we have to go through, coming up through here and then, going around the horn. Oh no, sorry, it was not this one. It's the one after this, where there's no platforms between the lava and the spikes. Yeah, it's this one right here, where you have to do it in all one fluid go. But I actually, handled that with surprising aptitude. Surprising, at least given my history with respect to this game. So we're actually almost at the end of, well, at least, we're about 3/4 of the way through the hidden cave at this point. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But after this, we fight the boss, and then we move on to maybe the last 25% where there's some more hardcore platforming elements, but nothing too serious compared to what we've seen so far. So this guy is really not that bad. His only attack really is to throw his arms at you like that. So as long as you can get out of the way of those, you'll be okay. I think the main reason he's here is to, just kind of be a further drain on your health if you're not paying attention, and make it a little bit more difficult for you to complete the final cave. And yes, I have died on this guy, which is a serious piss-off because the final cave is, extremely hard. The hardest part of the final cave is before this boss, so losing against him and then having to redo that is a big pain in the ass. So we get the clay figure medal when we beat him, which is small and profoundly heavy and has literally no use, but, it serves as kind of a badge of honor for us, I suppose. So, this part is a lot easier than it looks. All you gotta do is boost through here at the right time. Destroy this room with the power critters. Again, nothing too serious here. The main obstacle that we're going to look out for over the course of the rest of the last cave is when we get to the part where there's all of those, thwomps that can drop down on us. Thwomps, for lack of a better word, yeah. So starting here, if we get caught by one of those, we will die. It's instant death, so we've got to make sure that we, run in a controlled manner. We don't want to get too insane. You could just run all the way through here, I think, but I want to make sure I kill all the power critters too, because better safe than sorry in this situation, seeing how far I am in the last cave at this point. And then, of course, for that last stretch, after we get past this swamp, all we're going to do is kill the power critters and then boost across. And make sure you start late enough that you have enough juice in your boost to make it. Otherwise, you're going to be in a rough spot and you're probably going to get creamed by one of those thwomps as it comes down. So now we enter the balcony, one of the last areas of the game, actually. In fact, one of the last new screens that we're going to encounter. And we also encounter some new enemies. Well, I guess we've seen these before, but not in this kind of frequency. These are obviously enraged Mamigas, so clearly the Doctor's plan to use the red flowers on the Mamigas has worked so far. We see the helicopter here that Sue was talking about, how she and her research team arrived on that from the Earth. And then we'll enter the last save point before the final boss. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video.